Before we head into this first encounter, make sure you assign 2 teams. One team of 4 known as the ground team, and one team of 2 known as the roof team. For the first encounter, I would recommend the following loadout: a shotgun and a linear fusion rifle for the ground team, and a linear fusion rifle or sniper rifle and a pulse rifle or a scout rifle for the roof team, as you will be dealing with a lot of ads such as vandals which will snipe you. There will also be servitors which will shut down the map if not killed. You can run a shotgun if you want, but it's not necessary for this part. To start the encounter, head to this roof and kill this berserker. There will be quite a few of these throughout the encounter, so it's important that you know how to kill them. These enemies are immune, and they will be immune until their immunity shield is broken. When you go near them, they will pop up a bubble shield which when stepped inside will suppress you and stop you from using your abilities. However, once their shield is up, they will have a core on their torso and their back which will glow orange. Have 2 people shoot both cores while the shield is up in order to break it. You can now kill the berserker. Now you know how to kill these berserkers, let's start the encounter. Head to this roof in the middle of the map and kill this berserker by shooting the cores on his torso and back. Someone from the roof team should pick up this ball and place it in this machine. Around the map there will be 5 different machines you will all need to remember. They are shown on the map with squares and they are as follows: 1 at top mid, 2 at far right, 3 at bottom mid, 4 at far left, and 5 on the roof. There will also be these red triangles around the map as well. These triangles all signify berserkers which will all drop a ball when killed. However, the triangle with the ball above it represents a berserker which will drop 2 balls when killed. Depending on where the triangle with the red orb above it is, the roof team will tell the ground team where to go. The ground team should head to that location and kill the berserker that is there. If you have killed the right one, it should drop 2 balls. It should be noted that once the balls are dropped, they will have a timer on them. If that timer reaches 0, whoever is holding the ball will die. Make sure you place the ball in the correct machine before that happens. Have 2 people from the ground team pick up the balls that spawn, 1 at a time. As they pick them up, the map reader is going to see circles appear above their head. Depending on how many circles are above that person's head, that is the machine they will be going to. 5 will always go to the roof, and the other number will go to the corresponding machine. 5 should ideally be going to the roof alone, whilst the other number should have the rest of the ground team head towards that machine ahead of time to kill the servitors that spawn. If you do not kill the servitors that spawn, then the ball holder cannot place it in the machine. Once the servitors are down, have the ball holder place the ball in. The ball, which is number 5, is always a time extendable. You must keep placing it in the roof machine to extend the time until you complete the encounter. The reason we are using 5 to extend the timer is because if you look next to the map on the roof, there is a Wrath of the Machine kind of timer. If this timer runs out, your entire team will wipe, so keep it charged. One thing you should be aware of though is that once you've picked up a ball, you will have a debuff called Ionized. This debuff lasts 2 minutes, and as long as you have it, you cannot pick up another ball, so make sure you work with the rest of the ground team on who picks up a ball next. You will do these mechanics a total of 4 times in order to complete the encounter. Once done, you can drop down the hole that is uncovered and get your chest. You should now find yourself in a maze. Follow this map on screen depending on which hole you drop down in order to get to the next encounter. Now that we are at the next encounter, there is not much here that I would recommend to you other than a loadout, which I would say is pretty essential. I would 100% recommend a SPARROW with a shorter summon time, and if you don't have that, a Ghost Shell with the Speed Demon perk. And other than that, there's not much more to say about this encounter. It's essentially just a SPARROW race. There are 8 buttons along the way which will open up a secret path to a chest, but we're not going to be going over that in this video. I'll leave a link to a tutorial however in the description if you want to find it. To start the encounter, have 2 teammates melee these 2 buttons at the same time. A huge flaming servitor will now begin chasing you through this tunnel. Be sure to quickly get to the end of this course with your SPARROW, because if that servitor catches up to you, you will die. However, you only need 2 people to get to the end of the course. Once you have 2 people at the end of the course, have them melee the same 2 buttons that they did when they went into the encounter. You will then shut the door and the servitor will not be able to get to you. You have now completed the encounter. Once the door is closed, you have beaten the encounter and you can move on to the boss fight. However, to get there you're going to have to jump on some stuff, and there will also be a cave system that you need to find your way through. Just follow where I go in the gameplay here and you should get there no problem. For the first phase of this boss fight, assign 2 teams of 3, the underground team and the above team. Now before we get into the mechanics, let's talk about loadouts. For the underground team I would recommend a shotgun, a hand cannon and an LMG. Whereas for the above team, your loadout doesn't matter too much. The only thing you need to do on the above team is assign each person to one element. Have one person on solar, one person on void and one person on arc. Now let's talk about the mechanics. Starting with the above team, there are a few things you need to remember. Firstly, there will be a big servitor that will spawn throughout the encounter. Whenever the underground team tells you to, you must kill this servitor. Secondly, keep an eye out for fallen dropships. They will drop shanks which must be killed immediately. The shanks will have different elemental shields each time they spawn, so make sure the person with the right element is killing them. The underground team have a few more things to remember. Firstly, there are 3 tank spawns needed to deal damage to the boss around the map. Their locations are 1 at top mid, 2 at bottom right, and 3 at bottom left. These tank pads need 2 of the same symbol placed inside of them in order to spawn a tank. Speaking of symbols, there is 3 of them you will need to remember. A red circle, a white square, and a blue triangle. There will also be a flashing red symbol, but you do not want to pick this up under any circumstances or it will kill you. Before you start the encounter, have each member of the ground team get in one of these holes. Then have the above team kill the servitor. The underground team will head inside and begin running clockwise. Once you reach this machine, stop and pick up a symbol, then keep running. Once you have a symbol, make sure you remember it. That is now your symbol until you lose it. Once all 3 runners have acquired a symbol, have the above team kill the servitor. You will now continue as you did before, however make sure the next symbol you pick up is the same symbol as before or you will die. It's also important that once you have a symbol picked up, you do not cross paths with another runner or you will be tethered and die. Once everybody has 2 symbols, have the above team kill the servitor. Do not pick up more than 2. You and the rest of the underground team now need to each head to a different tank station and put your 2 symbols into the machine. Enter the tank that spawns and begin shooting at the arms of the boss in the center of the map. You will have roughly 30 seconds to do this before your tank blows up. You should jump out of the tank before it does or you will die. Another thing to note is that during the encounter there will be a timer counting down. If it reaches 0 you will wipe. The only way to reset the timer is to break off one of the boss's arms. If you are unable to kill the boss with the first set of tanks, simply repeat the mechanics until you have killed him. Now for the second phase of this boss, you guessed it, we are going to assign some teams. 2 people known as the map team, 2 people known as team 1, and 2 people known as team 2. We are also going to once again go through loadout. The loadouts I'm going to go through here should be used for everybody and is not team specific. I would recommend a shotgun for servitors and berserkers, a scout rifle for vandals which will be trying to snipe you from the rooftops throughout the encounter, and 100% a Whisper of the Worm sniper rifle. However, if you do not have one, I would highly recommend the Thunderlord LMG. For the most part, Phase 2's mechanics are almost identical to the first encounter of this raid, in that you will have 4 people hunting berserkers. The only difference is that the ground team is split into 2 teams, being Team 1 and Team 2. The map is also read a little different as there is only 3 machines this time instead of 5. The map team will also not be on a roof this time. Instead they will be sitting in the spawn room and the map will be on the floor. Here is what the map looks like, and you can also see the new layout. but in the event that you are unsure of what the new layout is, I will go through them now. Number 1 is at top mid, number 2 is at bottom right, and number 3 is at bottom left. Also, one thing to note is that the Berserker symbols are no different to the first encounter. The map team should only direct the ground teams to the one with a red orb above his head. Also, another thing to remember is that for the map team you only need one map reader, the other person should be defending. Once the encounter starts, the boss will launch himself out of the floor. One thing you must pay attention to is that the boss has a blue overshield. As long as this shield is up, you cannot enter the damage phase. You must take this shield down. It should be a priority. He has a total of 6 shields which look very similar to the ones on the Berserkers, however these ones glow blue. In case you do not see the shields, I will go through where they are. He will have 1 shield on each of his knees, 1 on his right shoulder, 1 on his left armpit, and 2 shields on his upper back. Though there is a lot of them, they can be taken out pretty easily using a Whisper of the Worm. Ideally, you should have Team 2 positioned at number 1 in order to shoot the shields off of his back as he spawns, and have the map team deal with the other 4 shields. Now, as all of this is happening, the map reader will need to be giving callouts to the ground team via the map, because as this encounter is happening, there is a ticking time bomb. The boss. He has a mechanic called Turbulent Detonation. To simplify it, take too long and you die. So with everything in mind, let's talk about the map reader. Once the encounter starts, the map reader will direct Team 1 to a Berserker. Team 1 will then go to that Berserker and kill him. Whilst they are doing this, the map team and Team 2 should be working on getting the boss's shields down. If Team 1 have killed the right Berserker, he will drop 2 balls. They will then pick up the balls one at a time, and as they do this, the map reader will tell them which machine they will be going to. They should head to whichever machine the map reader tells them to and insert the ball. Once they have done this, the map reader should then call out the next Berserker. However, instead of Team 1 heading to it this time, it will be Team 2 going for the Berserker. Why? Well, the ionized buff is still present in this encounter, meaning the ground team has to be split into 2 teams. So, the map reader will call out the next Berserker and Team 2 will essentially repeat what Team 1 did. Kill the Berserker, pick up the balls, go to their machines, place the balls in. However, this time, instead of more Berserkers spawning around the map, tanks will actually spawn on each of the tank pads around the map. These tanks are used to stun the boss and enter the damage phase. However, you do not want to take the tank from number 1 as it will make the boss face away from where we'll be damaging from. For example, if Team 2's balls are number 1 and number 3, then number 3 should call out that he is taking the tank. You only need 1 tank to stun the boss. What's important to note though, like I said earlier, is that if the boss's shield is not down, you cannot enter the damage phase. Now, before we enter the damage phase, let's talk about some key mechanics that you're going to need to know. So once you enter the damage phase, the boss is going to get stunned and drop a Servitor out of his chest. This Servitor is one massive crit spot and it doesn't matter where you hit on it to get a crit. But what is important is that after a while of damaging, the boss is going to flash your screen white and a debuff is going to appear on your screen. There is 3 buffs you will need to remember: continuous, angular, and parallel. However, you want to remember them by the first letter of the name, so C-A-P. The reason we must remember them is because if 2 buffs of a different sort mix together, they will get tethered. It works very similar to how it did in phase 1. If you are too close to each other for too long, you will die. Every time your screen flashes, you will be given this buff, so make sure you are paying attention. Now, as scary as this mechanic can be, we have a good way to work around it. The easiest way to do this is to have 3 different buffs damaging from different points in the spawn room. So from standing in spawn and looking out to where the boss would be, if we look to the left window should be C. Anybody who has continuous should go and stand here to damage the boss. Anybody with the angular buff should come and stand here at the back middle. And anybody with parallel should stand at the right window. This way nobody gets tethered and it makes damaging a lot easier. So just remember that every time your screen flashes, check for what debuff you have. If you have parallel and you are standing on continuous, make sure you move to parallel before you tether somebody and kill them. Also, another thing to know is that you will get a damage buff when you are paired with someone who has the same symbol as you. So hunters with the golden gun super should wait until they are paired with somebody to fire it off. Warlocks with the Well of Radiance super also greatly help for this, but it is not necessary. However, if you do have them, get them to place a well on continuous and parallel. Now, you probably won't kill the boss on your first damage phase, and that's totally okay. Just make sure that once the damage phase ends, you repeat the encounter's mechanics again until you get back to the damage phase. Once you have beaten the boss, you can go ahead and drop down the hole in the middle of the map. You can then go and loot your chest and start celebrating. You have just beaten the Scourge of the Past raid in Destiny 2. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy this no nonsense guide and you want more like this, then please leave a like. Have fun raiding and have a nice day.